Okay, a couple things before we start. Number one is thank you to Moshe Mernick and the Daf Yomi for making this happen. What I was asked to do was give a hakdama to Hilchos Niddah on a level of people that know how to learn Gemara. So I'm just, that's what we're doing over here. And let's start with Chumash. What you have is in the begin and end in Parshas Mitzorah, and Mitzorah, of course, talks about all kinds of tumah, and one of them is Nida. We're going to speak about a couple of them tonight. That's the Hiddush. But here the Torah says in Perek Tesvav, Pasuk Yotes, V'isha kisiya Zava dam yeh zoiva bivsora, Shivas yamim tia benidasa, v'chol hanergeya ba yitma ad ha'ar. That's Nida. That a woman, kisiya Zava dam yeh zoiva bivsora. And that means a woman who has a flow. Zav means flow. That's what the word means. So a woman who has a flow of blood, bifsara, and Chazal, Darshan, every single one of these words. Every one of these words is very important, but I'm just going over it right now.
This morning's daf.
Oh, this morning's daf. Baruch Hashem. What happens is, Shivas Yamim Tia Benidasa, she becomes a Nida for 7 days, V'chol hanergeya ba yitma ad ha'arev. And anybody in the time of Kutshim, in the time of Beis Hamikdash, anybody that would touch her would become Tamei ad ha'arev, but certainly one can't have intimacy with her, etc. All the halachos of Niddah. Let me explain what we just read. V'chol asher tishkav olav v'nidasa yitma, v'chol asher teshev olav yitma, v'chol hanegeya b'mishkava yichabis begadav v'rachatz v'mayim v'tamei ad ha'arev, all the way up until Pasuk Chavdalad v'im shachav yishkav ish hoiso t'in What we're talking about here is, you can analyze the talking about here is Hilchos Niddah D'Oraisa, not Hilchos Niddah what we do, in Hilchos Niddah D'Oraisa, or L'Yesser Diuk, it's not even Hilchos Niddah. But what the Halacha of Niddah D'Oraisa is as follows, that a woman becomes a Niddah, she's Zava Dam Bivsara, which I will explain in a moment. And from the moment that her cycle begins, her period begins, so she becomes a Nida, and that lasts 7 days, period. Unless she continues to see, she lasts 7 days. She can see one Ri of Dam, a Tipa of Dam. She becomes a Nida for 7 days. She can see all 7 days. She becomes a Nida for 7 days. Nida is a 7-day deal. It's a 7-day, that's a period of 7 days where she becomes Tamei. It's nothing to do, basically, with what we do. That's the Nida D'Oraisa at the end of the 7 days. She goes to the mikveh, like everybody who becomes Tamei and wants to become Tahar, and she becomes Tahar. It's a 7-day situation. The Torah says, and I'm going to go back into this, but let me just, the next.
Only if the dam comes to an end?
Yes, I said, if she can, the only exception would be is if she bleeds for 8 days or 9 days. But as long as, so it doesn't make any difference. In other words, there's no, let's get out of our mind for the purpose of deriving Shiva Nikim. Let's get out of our mind Hefsik Tara. All those things that we know about. No, that's not what the Torah says. What the Torah says is Shivas Yamim, when her, and it's very logical, by the way, the Torah, if I may say, that because what it means is that when she's having her menstrual cycle, she's a Nida. That's all it means. So she's having, which I'm going to explain to you the biology of in a moment. Doctors will forgive me and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's all it means. It means that when a woman is having her menstrual cycle, she's a Nida. But let's go further before we get into that. The next issue of the Torah is V'isha ki yazuv zoiv dama yamim rabim. Below es nidasa. That's the key pasuk here. Below es nidasa. It's not the time for her to become a Nida. Oh, kisazuv al nidasa, kol yemei zoiv tumasa kimei nidasa tia tmeyahi. And that's a different type of tumah. This type of tumah is called Zava. Zava, I'm going to skip right to Torah Shabbat Peh. After all the drushes are said and done, Zava has a lot of halachas. Zava has a halacha that after one becomes a Zava, so you have to keep Shiva Nikiyim. Zava has a halacha, you have to bring a carbon after the Shiva Nikiyim. In fact, just about everything we do in Hilchos Niddah is really Hilchos Zava. Emesis really should not be called Hilchos Niddah in the Shulchan Aruch. It should be called Hilchos Zava. But of course, it has to do with Nida, so we call it Hilchos Niddah. Let me explain the biological part of it, the best lefi ad mokem sheyodi magas. If you look at the sheets that you have on the back side, are you impressed? A woman who's a child-rearing woman has a cycle of scientifically 28 days, according to Chazal, 30 days. Probably what Chazal meant is average is 30 days, but the actual cycle is between 28 and 31, if I understand it correctly. But it's called, in biology books, it's called the 28-day cycle. What happens during that cycle? Every month the cycle. What happens during the cycle? So day one of the cycle, which is interestingly in red, day one of the cycle is a woman gets her period, and this is the menstruation period of it. This chart that you're looking at actually has to do with fertility, not with Hilchos Niddah, but that's why it's the way it's laid out the way it is. You see the 7 days. You see the 7 days? So those are the 7 days that the Chumash is talking about. 7 days of menstruation. According to the Chumash, it could be 1 day of menstruation, it could be 6 days of menstruation, but there are the part of the cycle in a woman's 30 days, part of 7 day part of the pie, which is called Yemei Nidasa. That's Yemei Nida. After that, let's back up a little bit in the biology. What happens is Niflos Habara. This is what happens. The pituitary gland produces progesterone. The brain likes progesterone. Makes you happy and in a good mood. But that's not the purpose of the progesterone. The purpose of this hormone is to help the body build an endometrium. Endometrium, endo means in Latin, metrium means the womb. In the uterus, which is where babies come to be, in the uterus, there is a lining to the uterus. The lining is between 6 and 8 millimeters. This purpose of this lining but the lining is to hold a baby. When a woman is not childbearing, she doesn't have this. She doesn't get this lining. It's the hormones that are given forth by the body, Niflos Habara, miraculous, by the pituitary gland, which causes this to be. And now she has a uterus which is perfectly ready to hold a baby. And if she becomes pregnant, I'm going around in circles because it's a circle, so wherever we start, it's good. But if she would become pregnant, then that endometrium becomes a placenta and holds the baby until the baby is born. If she doesn't become pregnant, we're not talking about pregnancy tonight. If she doesn't become pregnant, at the end, during these 7 days, what happens is the endometrium disintegrates, is that the right word? Breaks down. It's the breakdown of the endometrium wall, and it flows from the body, and that flow is a menstrual flow. That's a menstrual cycle. That's what a nida is. A nida, it's just very, very important to do. There are very few creations in God's world that have a menstrual cycle. Even mammals, dogs, horses, they don't get their period. They get in heat. So they go through a same cycle, but they don't have the release of the endometrium walls released through the body. I think the exception is a certain type of chimpanzee. Go figure. Which is, I guess, where the evolutionists got the idea that we come from monkeys. But b'derech klal, it's only women in childbearing age that have this build up through the hormone creating an endometrium, and then no pregnancy, no baby, no need for the endometrium. The endometrium breaks down, comes out, comes to the body, becomes a nida. That it's not really, by the way, it's not really even dam. It's a type of a mucus, which was once an endometrial wall, and the Torah called this tameh, gzeres hakosov. I don't know why it's tameh. I'm not, the Ramban, I believe, in Chumash explains it, but it's not necessary to explain it. What we're here for is to understand the halacha. Once that happens, and once she finishes to break down any longer, so she can't possibly become a nida. It's impossible. So if you get to day 8, which in our case is in the middle of her being a nida, so she can't become a nida because there's no endometrium to break down. So you go through these days. In our case, we go all the way up to day 12 because of reasons that I will explain. But you go through these days. So what happens if she sees dam during those days from day 7 till, let's call it day 12 for now. Or Chazal called it 11 days. 11 days. I'm not sure how Chazal knew this about 11 days, and I'm not sure if there's a science to back up the 11 days, but we go with Chazal. So Chazal said from the time she finishes menstruating, there are 11 days where there is no endometrium. It's impossible for her to become a nida. So what is she seeing dam about? What is that? And the answer is Zava. Zava is a type of an illness, basically. It's an irregularity. It's not something which normally happens. It doesn't happen every month. But any dam that's seen from day 7 for the next 11 days is for sure not nida. It's a din of Zava. Now in Zava, there is Zava Gedola and there is Zava Katana. 2 different kinds of Zava, all deraisa. Katana means that, okay, here's this woman, I just had my period, I went to the mikveh, I'm talking about in biblical times, I had my period, I went to the mikveh, and now I just seem to be getting my period again. By the way, I get this phone call twice a week. What's going on? So the answer is, I don't know, and that's what's important here. That not that I don't know, nobody knows exactly. David HaMelech knew. David HaMelech was dam, being able to know the difference between ben dam ledin, ben dam ledam, ben din ledin. He was able to know, and he was osik because he was able to know, even though he was a king and doing wars. He was osik in this. The Gemara says, right? He knew how to tell the difference. We don't know how to tell the difference. So we know that it's some kind of an irregularity. We know it's not a nida, but what kind of a din do we give it? So it depends. Midaraisa, again, I'm talking about Midaraisa. It depends. If she has a seeing of blood, a rhea, and it goes away, Zava Ketana. So today I'm Tameh. She goes to the mikveh and finished. That's a Zava Ketana. Waits a day, goes to the mikveh. In other words, even if she only saw in the morning, she waits a day, goes to the mikveh, she's tar. That's called a Zava Ketana. Another way that Chazal call it is a Shomeres Yom. Shomeres Yom. Let's say she sees for 3 days during this period of time. So if she sees for 3 days, you look at Rashi. Rashi tells us, we'll look at it in a minute, but I want to do the Torah Shabbat Peh first. If she sees for 3 days, then she becomes a serious Zava, meaning she's really a Zava. So now, not good enough that she should be Shomeres Yom and wait 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. This is the Chiddush of Shiva Nekiyim. This is where Shiva Nekiyim comes in. She has to make a Hefsek Tara. What's a Hefsek Tara? This is talk about a Zava. What's a Hefsek Tara? A Hefsek Tara is where she goes from cheskas tamei to cheskas tar. The purpose of a hafsek tar is to change the chazaka. If you have the way it works in any suffix in the Torah is you go basar chazaka. So if the chazaka tells you tamei, if you have a suffix, you go l'tumah. If the chazaka tells you tar, you go l'tara. So it's very, very important to change the chazaka. That's what a hefsek tara does. Ad hayom hazeh. A hefsek tara is a hefsek between tumah and tara. That's what a hefsek tara means. Once you do the hefsek tara, which is not any 5 days or anything like that, it's just when she finishes, as long as it's more than 3 days of this. I know some people say it's gonorrhea. Is it? Hard to know. Zava. Something like that. Yeah. But whatever it is, it's an. Right. Ziva is blood-like. It doesn't have to be blood. It's on a greenish side. It's a different type of a thing. What is it? What is it? It's pus. Okay. So that's something else. But whatever else, it's an irregularity. As soon as, again, one day she keeps Shomeres Yom, Pshuta K'mashmai, and she goes to the mikveh. 3 days, you have tzaras. At 3 days, we have to put her on watch. So you're like under observation. Under observation means that she finishes her Zava, Gedola means a big bleed. She makes a hefsek tara, and now tells the Torah a chiddush of Shiva Nikiyim. Shiva Nikiyim means you have to check every single day of the 7 days and see whether she's still seeing dam or not until it's all over. Once it's all over, Zava Gedola, she has to do 2 things. The first one is go to the mikveh. Second thing is brings a carbon. Okay. It's all over. She went to the mikveh. Once those days pass, let's say you're in day 17 now, because don't forget, it could be. Let's say you're in 17, 18. This is already Yemei Nida. What does it mean, Yemei Nida? It's already a time where it is possible for her to get a period again. Again, this is not, you don't need Amunas Chachamim for this. This is biology. The biology is that it is now possible. The longer await it is, up to day 28, the more obviously it's possible to get a period. But the endometrium is already forming because of the hormonal differences. Where the progesterone stops. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a higher level of estrogen comes in, and that's what causes and the cramping before a woman gets a period is very similar to contractions. The way, in my lay understanding. In other words, what it's doing is it's removing contractions as a way of the body removing something. So the contractions are removing the nida. And that has a very, very important halacha, as women call it, siman that she's going to become a nida. As contractions are a siman that you're about to have a baby. Again, those. It's not just like, oh, I know, I feel like I'm going to get my period. What's happening with those cramping is that you are getting your period accepted. What the Torah says, it wasn't zab, sorry, it didn't actually come out. So if it didn't actually come out, Xeris HaKasav. It's a Xeris HaKasav that she's tahar until it actually comes out. It's not different. A hargash is a different thing that happens. I don't know what a hargash is, and I'll tell you, according to my late Rebbe, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, nobody knows what a hargash is. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows what chazal means. There's a lot of guesses, and all women seem to know. I have a headache, I have this, that. It's all true. The headache thing is true, but it's what chazal meant when they said hargasha, we don't know. Cramping is something we do know, maybe. But then you have to distinguish that between, I'm jumping into halachas, you have to make sure that it's cramping of nida and not something else. That cramping has to be a contraction. It's not necessarily a period. So we have to know what is vadai, what's suffix. But okay, so you get into this these days, say according to 7 plus 11. That's what it really is. Al pi halacha, 7 days are yemei nida. I just want to emphasize this so to make sure everybody, it's yemei, she gets her period. It's where she is in the cycle over here. It's yemei nida for 7 days. After that is yemei ziva, 11 days. These 11 days, you can't get to your period. You could only become a zava. And then after that, her endometrium begins to rebuild. And being that her endometrium begins to rebuild, there is a possibility of getting her period, but we're not choshesh for it. What does it mean we're not choshesh for it? Until it comes a vest. What does a vest mean? This is when I know my cycle is 28 days. My cycle is 29 days, 31 days, 40 days, 60 days. It doesn't make any difference. This is the way my body works. So every body is different. That's the fact. Until then, it's a vest. We can be choshesh, but you don't have to be choshesh right away just because the endometrium is building that there's actually going to be an exit of the or a breakdown of the endometrium wall. Is my biology clear? Because I'm not a biologist. I'm self-conscious because many of you know more about this than I do, but I'm just telling you what I understand. It's okay? Accurate? Okay.
What's the connection between Zava and the time that, according to Torah, you can conceive? She can conceive.
You can't conceive when you're a Zava, and you can't get your period when you're a Zava.
Biologically, you can't conceive.
Here.
She can conceive.
So you could conceive,
Yes,
potentially.
potentially.
Yes, of course.
What's the cashier?
Ovulation.
Oh, ovulation. So how does ovulation work? Because that's part of the cycle. The body is busy. And what's happening is that, and this what this chart really is all about, is that there are fallopian tubes, and just as the uterus is building up an endometrial wall, so at the same time, the fallopian tubes are creating the possibility of being seed that's possible to be fertilized. See, here's an interesting thing, and I jump, but I just wanted, for the sake of illustration. Like according to this, the best chance of conception is the night of the mikveh. Now, that's just accidental or hashgacha pratis, but that's not the design. Why do I say that? Because according to the design, it's not the best time to conceive. The design is 7 days. Right, it's got nothing to do with it. Happens to be that people like to say that, wow, like look at the beauty of Taras HaMishpacha, that exactly mikveh night is conception night. Which is, again, that's not what the halacha is. But here's like an interesting problem that we deal with a lot. And that is that, let's say a woman can't go to the mikveh on mikveh night. So again, what's mikveh night? In our case, 5, which was not part of this, and 7. So that's what? 12th night. So on the 12th night, that would be 12th night. Look, best chance of conception. You have maybe the 13th night, maybe the 14th night. Can't go to the mikveh. Let's say she's staining or for whatever reason she can't go to the mikveh and she wants to have a baby. So now you have a problem. What am I supposed to do? Can I go to the mikveh earlier, Rabbi? Is there a way I can get rid of the 5 days? Is there a way I can make 5 days into 4 days? What can I do? So what you can do is something that there are whole machons that deal with, machon pua. There's like what you could do is Rav Shlomo Zalman wrote a book on it. I mean, what you can do, there's what to do, but it's a halachic problem. In other words, the halachic problem is that you want to go to the mikveh by 12, maybe 13, at latest 14, if you want to have a baby, and if you don't want to have a baby, probably a very good form of birth control is to wait to go to the mikveh till 15, 16. I'm not recommending that, although many rabbanim do. That is, in the old days before there was the pill, that was one of the most common forms of birth control. Wait. What are you waiting for? You're waiting for day 17, 18. Okay. That is a very sort of, in a way, a very kosher form of birth control because you're not doing anything. But it's a very unkosher type of birth control in the sense that you're supposed to go to the mikveh on mikveh night. There's a mitzvah of oina and there's other things. Okay, I return to where I am. So what happens now? What happens now is Halachos Niddah, first 7 days, Hilchos Zava, the next 11 days, let's say, is Hilchos Zava. Hilchos cycle continues at 11 plus 7, which is 18 days, and goes on where the endometrium is fall. Amar Rebbe, this is in the Mishnah, and Nida Samach Vav, I think. So Rabbi said, Bishvil Nashim Shebesados, means like Arei Asad, out-of-town women. And I guess out of town they didn't have like iPhone apps to tell you exactly when your cycle is starting and ending. They didn't have Rabbanim. They didn't have maybe they didn't even have calendars, during different times of history. Calendar was Hillel, so it was hard. They'd have to watch the moon. They didn't have experts around. So Rabbi said, look, let's no longer, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, let's no longer distinguish between Nida and Zava. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said this in the Mishnah. So that means to say, when she sees Dam, let's assume that she's a Zava Gedola. You hear the chumrah of that? Let's talk about it. One chumrah is that in the case of real Nida, actual Nida, then it could be 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 7 days. In the case of Zava Gedola, Zava Gedola, it's different. Now you have to, if it's Zava Gedola, meaning she saw the Dam for 3 days, so now you have to make Afsak Tara. You have to keep Shiva Nakiyim. Shiva Nakiyim, what is Shiva Nakiyim to Hilchos Nida? Because we're worried that maybe she thinks she's a Nida, but she's really a Zava Gedola because she lost track of her cycle. So the whole Hilchos Nida is based in one line of the Talmud Bavli, which are 2 lines actually. We'll get to the second one, and we'll see it inside. But the one line in the Gemara, in the Mishnah, which tells us that every Nida has to be Choshesh, that she's a Zava Gedola. And since she's a Zava Gedola, really, as I said at the beginning, it should be Hilchos Zava Gedola, not Hilchos Nida at all. Nida is a relic of the past in that sense. It's unimportant because we're automatically being machmir that she's a Zava Gedola. We don't even have Zava Ktana. Maybe I'm a Zava Ktana. Maybe I just had a Riyah. No, Zava Gedola. That's what you are, Zava Gedola. Evolution. Amar Abzeira. You have the Gemara in front of you. Amar Abzeira. Nida Samach Vav. Hey here. I'm not going through the Rambam with you to save time, but everything I just said is in the Rambam. I didn't say anything that wasn't in the Rambam. I'm just explaining it biologically. Amar Abzeira, B'nai Yisrael, Reb Zera gave, what this is Reb Zera like a Zava Gedola, but he was talking, what does a Riyah mean? That became the question in the Beis Medrash. What is a Riyah? What does that mean? A flow? So that's what we're going to talk about. What does it mean? It's a suffix deraisa. Suffix deraisa. We're dealing with deraisas. If she's a Zava Gedola, that's a deraisa. No, I'm saying if she's a Zava Gedola, she's a deraisa. If she's a Nida, it's deraisa. Chorus. What is this? So the Rabbanan said that it's all deraisa. I'll tell you why everything here is deraisa, and not only deraisa but chorus. Because Kozman that she doesn't go to the mikveh, she's a Nida, she's a Zava. So whatever she is, it doesn't make any difference because if she doesn't go to the mikveh, she's a Nida, and she's chayiv chorus. So the answer is not only is it deraisa, it's chorus. But it's the Rabbanan that told her to put herself in that situation. So the discussion in the base came, time of Reb Zera, very long after the Mishnah. The discussion was, what did Rabbi mean? When he said that every time a woman gets her period, she should become a Zava Gedola. A period is a flow. That's what a period is. Her regular period. Amar Reb Zera, so Reb Zera reported, B'nai Yisrael, fascinating, that don't talk about this anymore. B'nai Yisrael hechmiru al atzman. They were machmir on themselves. Sha'afilu rasa tipas dam kechardel. that even if she sees a drop of blood, she considers herself a what? A Zava Gedola. Yosheves Olav Zayin Nikiyim. Yumei Tahara. And goes to the mikveh. B'nois Yisrael. So they Zayin Gebench. But this was a chumrah that they themselves, because they didn't want to, and this became, if you will, because they didn't want to get into even a remote question of whether this is Nida, whether this is Zava, whether it was a Riyah, whether it wasn't a Riyah. Not talking Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was in Eretz Yisrael at the end of the Bayis Sheni. And we were no longer centralized. By the time of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, let's put it this way, at the time of Rabbi Akiva, we were already, that was Tanoim. Reb Zeir was in Bavel, but not the Bavel, not the Bavel you're talking about, Golus Bavel. Talking about the Bavel that the Amoraim went to. And it was dispersed, and we lost a lot of tradition. And that's why you needed a Reb Zeira to come along and say, I'm telling you what the minhag is. So this is not Reb Zeira. Reb Zeira was doing, even though it's called Dinah de Reb Zeira, it was a Reb Zeira that he told us. What is the, which obviously has a tremendous amount of ramifications, because that's the halacha today. So look where we went. We went from the deraisa of Nida to Ra'asa Tipas Dam Kechardel. You could see a little thing on a bedika cloth that you have to take to a rabbi, and he puts it under special lights. She's Nida deraisa. She's makabel on herself, not Nida deraisa, Zava Gedola deraisa, and until she goes to the mikveh, it's deraisa. What's the tokef? What? Trying to talk about. Okay. What you're thinking about. What is a halacha psuka? Give me an example of a halacha psuka. Now, halacha psuka doesn't mean that you're supposed to wash nagovasser in the morning. Halacha psuka means that there was a psak. But my halacha psuka, Rav Zeir's halacha psuka. Of all the different halacha psukas that there are in Shas, Havli and Yerushalmi, Rabbi Zeir says, this is the halacha psuka. So one thing we see, and which is really the main thing that I want to bring out here, is that this is a halacha psuka. It's not a minhag. It's not a chumrah. It's not certain communities. It's a halacha psuka. I would venture to say, at the risk of sounding too psychological, but I imagine that, like, the pshat why he brings Reb Zeir is, like, let's say you go into Shemoneh Esrei, the daven, and you're bebilbul amoch. What's a bebilbul amoch? Is my wife a Nida? Is she not a Nida? Is this a Zava? acceptance of the halacha psuka, the Bnei Yisrael chmir al atzman, live with it, and that's the end of the story. And it's halacha psuka, and she's a nida. So that's the pshat in this Gemara. The Gemara says in Shabbos, let's just learn the Gemara.
Psuka means there was no machlokas between
It could be. He could have said anything. Why did he say this? That's my question. There's once a suffix about, now there's no more suffix. It was paskid. That's what halacha psuka means. It could be like the time of Hillel and Shammai, halacha Hillel. So okay, go into Shemona Esrei, halacha Hillel. But that's not, whatever sugi you're dealing with, what he's saying, it has to be the, they're all Shemona Esrei with a halacha psuka, like the halacha of Reb Zera. There's just no more suffix. So you see, halacha, this, even though I told you the whole history of it, and we're not talking about deraisa, we're talking about derabbanan, we're talking about chumras b'nai Yisrael. But that chumrah b'nai Yisrael Nida the way we keep Hilchos Nida. So he would tell people, look, if you're not up to it, just do the deraisa. This is when you get your period. So wait 7 days and go to the mikveh, and that's all. Halacha every day. And then they will go in Toivel with a letter from him, and not that the mikveh lady knows what day she's in anyway, to wear a bathing suit while they're Toivel. Those were his two big. That's what he said. I'm asking you, like, even according to what we learned, right or wrong?
No, it's about the Zava. We're ignoring the Zava.
Halacha psuka. You can't, what?
We're also ignoring the Zava period. It's not a kula. She has to start worrying about Zayin Nikiyim, and it's
Ridiculous. So the whole thing is, even more than it's a halacha psuka, the whole thing is ridiculous. Maybe she's a Zava Gedola, and she has to keep Zayin Nikiyim. Otherwise, there's no eitzah for her. So the psak. So I Babish could never understand this psak, and I asked him, says, look, about let them do the deraisas, but they're not doing the deraisas. They're not even doing deraisas because if you're dealing with a suffix deraisa, and you're dealing with a suffix deraisa again because you don't know if it's a suffix gedola and you don't know if it's a nida, right? Okay, so that's clear. Yeah, right. So, but the point is, that's why I said, wait a minute, because the point is that once there's a halacha psuka, but there's a halacha psuka for a reason. And since there's a halacha psuka for a reason, so at this point she's also deraisa. In fact, chayiv kares. You're chayiv kares if one would be intimate with her. What?
What was his answer to that? Did someone ask him the question?
I don't know what his answer. I never understood the answer. But the truth is more chashuv than I am. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing out.
Is that done now in certain circles? Is that done now?
It should not be done anywhere. So I finally found in the Beis Avi, which is Tafka, like one of the modern poskim, I think Yehuda Herzl Henkin. Rav Henkin, not the Rav Henkin. Yeah, the grandson. So he says chas v'sholom loy markein. That's what he says. I'm saying if anybody would say he's looking to help Klal Yisrael with Kolos. He says chas v'sholom loy markein. So here's. I'm just being knocking him. No, he tells them to type with parents. Yeah. In other words, the idea, the logic here, the mahalach here is to, not that they should, but they could, meaning make it more palatable, make it more easier for people. So, but that's always, I talk about this often. This is always your flirting your movement, It's not so posh. It's like make it more palatable and say, well, let's doing that. You're being makel on an issue deraisa. That's not what's happening. On a chorus, you're being makel. So it's not loose. There's lumdas that also. That's follow up shear. It's not rove. That I can live with. I just it's hard to live with this. Let's look at this Gemara before we end because I'm nervous you're here. The Gemara says, Tanat Ve'el Yo, Gemara in Shabbos. Famous Gemara in Shabbos. Ma'aseh be'echad sheshana harbe v'kara harbe. The Gemara tells a story about Ramayim, Shimish Talmidei Chachamim, and he died Chatzi Yamav. There could be a million reasons for that. None of them we will ever know, probably. Meis v'Chatzi Yamav, v'haise ishtay no tell us tfilav, u'machzerasam b'batei knesios, u'b'batei midrashes. Took his tefillin. She was a woman who just lost her husband. Eishes Neurim, the Rashi said. Went around to Rabbanim. Tell me, why did he die? In agony, anguish. V'amri lahem, she would say to the Rabbanim, Ksiva Torah ki huchayecha v'erech yamecha. Ali, my husband, Shana harbe, Kara harbe, Shimish Talmidei Chachamim harbe. Mipnei ma meis v'chatzi yama v'loi haya adam machzira davar. Who knew how to answer this question? Pamachas. Nisarachti etzla v'haisa masicha kolaisa ma'oira. So the Gemara says, son of Elio. Elio and Nava. I heard out the story. I gave her this insight. Biti. What was going on when you were in Nida? Were you shomer Nida? You kept Nida? You didn't keep Nida. Chas v'shalom. Chas v'shalom. Afilu betz b'ktana loy nagabi. Never. Chas v'shalom. There was no negia, no anything. Nidascha. Bimei libunayich. What about your Yemei Libun, Mao Etzlech? What happened during the Yemei Libun? Where's the Yemei Libun? Zainikim. Achalimi, she said, B'shasaimi, B'yashanimi, B'kiruv Basar. What did he say? What was this husband's cheshbon? Keep the deraisa. Yeah. But, I mean, they didn't. Shasaimi, Yashanimi, B'kiruv Basar. Also, and he would never even think about taking that intimacy further. My husband's a tzaddik. V'amarti la baruch hamakom shahar gai. Shlenas upanim l'Torah. Sherei amar Torah vel isha b'nidas tumas loisikra. Frank Toisus. Never went to the Nida. But Toisus asked the kasha. Toisus said she never went to the mikvah. So what do you mean, Yashani Babakayr Basar? We know. You should you understand something here that his hand. You're very possibly shaking Anita's hand. So what's the halacha? So the answer is maybe the answer is it's not a davar shachiba. So that's a hard thing to do hashar. But yashani ma bekir of basar, this is definitely. So Zok Taisus, we're talking about that she went to the mikvah. What was this Talmud Chacham doing? The Talmud Chacham said, look, after 7 days, you may need dasa. It's a deraisa. You can go to the mikveh deraisa. I'm willing to keep the B'nai Yisrael Hichmir al Atzman and keep the Shiva Nekiyim. You may libuna. She kept it all. So what didn't she? And she went to the mikveh, but she didn't keep the B'nai Yisrael Hichmir al Atzman to be 100% Isser Zava Gedolah, right, during the entire time. So that's the extent. I just bring you this Gemara to tell you the extent of the Shiva Nekiyim. And if Ramesh will invite me back, I'd like to give another introduction to Halachos of Niddah, but tonight we're finished. Thank you very much.